Welcome to another episode of Brand Chops, where we're chopping up brands to see what they're made of. My name is Zack Lemear.
And I'm Chris Duhaime, and today we're going to talk about how politics plays a role in your branding and your marketing. And I think one of the first things we want to talk about is how a brand even wants to align, or if they want to align from a political stance. I think politics is interesting when it comes to marketing because there's a lot of different approaches that you can take. So you can be sort of like I am, who I'm a little bit more subtle with when it comes to political statements in marketing. I try to stay pretty even keel in the middle. I'm not wavering one way or the other. But there's other brands that I know of that really take a stance one way or the other, whether they're small local brands and maybe it's a personal branding scenario where they're making messages on local pages on Facebook. They're making a statement when they're doing that. So their personal brand will bleed into their business brand as well. So, but that could really be good or it could really be bad. Some of the things I've seen is you can align yourself one way or the other, and you're going to definitely disassociate yourself with the other side. So no matter what you do, you need to make that as a conscious decision that you're going to go down that political path. You're going to choose your path, and then you're going to have to live with the results, which could mean that you're segmenting yourself away from that audience that could make up part of your buyers.
Yeah, and I think that just politics in general are very polarizing by design. This two-party system, which, without getting too deep into my own beliefs, I just try to keep my mind open because I don't believe that the system is broken like most people think. I think that the system was working exactly the way it was designed for us to feel like it's broken, to keep us divided in this two-party system, when honestly, at the end of the day, you've got always a president that lasts 1 or 2 terms, does a bunch of stuff, and then it's probably a Republican or a Democrat. Then the next version is the opposite. And then they undo a bunch of stuff. And then a couple of years, and then the next version's the opposite. And then they undo a bunch of stuff, and nothing ever really gets done. But it's the point is that this politics in general are very polarizing. And I think that's the point. And I think that there is a reason why they align so heavily one side or the other. Trump is a good example of branding and politics. Most politicians have signs that you wouldn't be able to really differentiate from one or the other, with the exception of Obama had a pretty good one. And their taglines are usually pretty lame and forgettable. Obviously, Trump is great at marketing. Make America Great Again. MAGA hat, the red hat, which matches his red tie that he's always wearing. He's wearing the same exact outfit every single day. He's got the same hairstyle, the same orange patina, but he also appeals to a very specific sect of America. Very specific. And he has done some things that are not presidential. Not that he's the only one, but I think he's probably the only one that's ever had to fight in court for like 3/4 of his campaign time, lose in court, and then still win. Because that speaks loudly about branding. He appealed to a specific demographic that really almost saw value in his don't give an F attitude. If anybody's going to inflict crazy fundamental change in the administration, it's going to be this guy, because he doesn't care what you think about him. He does not care. He will do whatever. He will rename the Gulf of Mexico to a Gulf of America. He will say anything in front of so many people, making fun of disabled people, whatever it is. But people see him as a guy that gets stuff done, doesn't care, that will say what needs to be said and not play the politics game. And a man that's supposed to be a businessman that has business acumen, even though technically, historically, he hasn't done the best in business. However, perception is reality, and that's what we talk about all the time in branding. And obviously it works because it's very polarizing. You either love Trump or you hate him. There's very few people in the middle like me. I'm interested to see what happens, because we were just talking on another episode about cannabis branding, and I never would have been able to start a CBD company if he didn't legalize the 2018 Farm Bill. I've benefited from some of his policies. I don't necessarily agree with everything that goes on. I don't know in the very beginning if he was a great representative of America, because I think America already gets a bad rap from most other countries. And to have somebody that's less eloquent that is less composed, less reserved, probably didn't do us any favors, but maybe that's the shakeup we needed. And good or bad, and we talk about this all the time too, marketing isn't about talking about yourself. It's about getting everyone else to talk about you. And good or bad, love them or hate them, we're all talking about them. And that proves the point.
It does. And I think the one big thing you mentioned there was the love or hate scenario. And I think it's the people that are vocal about that one way or the other. I think you have to just be understanding that if you are vocal about your policies one way or the other, whether that's directly in your business and the voice you give your business, or it's how you present yourself on a Facebook group where you're not hiding your identity. People know who you are, and anybody can find anything about anybody. So I don't know if you've seen some of those TikTok scenarios where there's certain creators that will basically hunt down people who are on either side and find out everything about them, their business, where they live, all those things, and broadcast that to the general public. Now, that person made a very distinct, I guess, concerted effort. They were very specific about what they wanted to talk about and what side they were on. And now their business is attached to whatever personal brand they put out there. And that's going to have an impact on their business, whether it's good or bad. It could have a good impact because you could be better aligning yourself with your ideal clients. You could be hitting an emotional thread that maybe they didn't even know about before, that you had that connection with them. And so they feel stronger and they're going to only buy from you. But at the same time, if you're dissociating yourself from the other side, that could cause a loss of sales. It could cause specific clients that you already have not to want to work with you because they don't align with your political views. So just before you talk anywhere on the internet or do anything on the internet, make sure that you're mindful that that's going to have an effect on your business. There's been a number of instances recently where, whether he was making the salute or not, when Elon Musk during his speech did the "My heart goes out to you," and it resembled the Nazi symbol, I guess. And everybody's on each side, and some people really don't think there's anything wrong with it. He's not doing anything wrong. The other side, this is obviously a blatant disrespect. And so when you talk about it or do that salute in your TikToks, it's going to come back to you. I've seen people lose their jobs. I've seen people lose their businesses just because they mimicked that. And it's a strong statement. And if you want to politically make that statement, you just have to understand where your repercussions are going to be. So just be mindful of that when you're putting out personal views out into the public, because it's going to come back to your business no matter what.
And that goes right back to what we say all the time with, you really need to know your audience. And if you serve a liberal community and you've got conservative views and stances, it's probably not a smart move to broadcast those things out there, because you're creating that polarization. And I believe truly that it's by design, and nobody does it better than politics. There's always like, oh, they're the best or they're the worst. Oh, we hate it. We can't get along. But I think if you look back in the history, they used to get along. I think there was something called the Democratic Republic. I don't really know. I'm not a history buff, but the point is that we didn't used to be so polarized until I think the media cycles came in and made it work for their benefit. And you just never know how this is going to work. The polarization can work for you, because we always talk about too, know your audience and be comfortable with who you're going to repel and be comfortable with who you're going to attract. There's lots of people that don't trust anything that ever comes out of a person's mouth on Fox News. Never, ever. There's people out there that do that. But there's also people out there, Trump included, that get all their news from Fox News, and they would never listen to CNN, and they would never, and it depends. In these camps, which I truly believe are there to keep us divided by design, it is exactly how branding works. ABC News is different than even The Daily Show. You know, The Daily Show, you're going to hear them talking. And another one that I really like is Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. He is not a fan of Trump. And all of his stuff, you know, like even in the last episode before, I think the election, he was pleading with the community. He's like, please don't. Please don't. But then I saw somebody that's kind of doing what you're saying, like not taking any particular line. It was Dave Chappelle when he just recently hosted Saturday Night Live, and he had a whole set talking about at the end where, love him or hate him, Mr. Trump, people are counting on you. And I feel like that was a very powerful statement coming from him, because, you know, in his more recent modern comedy, he always has a message somewhere that is more than just jokes. And so he's like, they're counting on you. to make this better. Whatever that is, we're counting on you. And, there's lots of people that are hating him because of the DEI stuff. And love him or hate him, not only are you talking about him, but it's interesting to see how people are aligning in their own political, because to your point, Chris, Dave Chappelle could have easily been like, I hate Trump or I love Trump. Who did it the opposite way? Kanye. Kanye is a huge Trump supporter. Don't know if all the black community appreciate that, but he didn't care. I mean, in a lot of ways, they both don't care about what you think about them, so they align in those values. So this is why I try, because I believe that this is a system designed to keep us divided, I never really align with either side. I just try to keep myself open to the possibilities of what's going to happen, because I also have seen so many times, like I said, the whole system is built to dismantle the previous administration. And I feel like it keeps us stuck. In this case, with Trump, he's dismantling everything. The Department of Government Efficiency, which is based on a meme coin, the Doge coin, which is interesting. But bringing in an Elon Musk guy, the guy that ripped apart Twitter and made it super efficient. Now, whether he made it a better product or not is debatable, but he made it super efficient and he made people qualify their positions. He was like, what did you do this week? Prove to me that you've earned this position or resign. Giving 0 Fs, which I think we do need. I do think we need that. And if anybody's going to do it, it's going to be Trump. But also the branding thing, he got his ear grazed by a bullet. Whether he had any idea that was going to happen, he's just happened to move in the right way at the right time. It has zero to do with bravery. It has everything to do with luck. But people's perception was that he survived. And that made him almost even more of a deity in their minds. If they already loved Trump, then they were going to be like, oh man, this guy, he dodges bullets, this guy. Now he's going to be in the next Avengers.
Right. When I saw that photo come out of him with the bloody ear and his fist pumping, I knew that was going to resonate well with that audience and also bring people that are in the middle over to his side, because it's that American mentality that I think a lot of people resonate with. I definitely can see him as a brander and a marketer to even just have the wherewithal to do that during that situation just proves how good at marketing he is, because that was his first thing that he thought about doing. And as far as on the other side of the coin, there's brands that are doing it well on the more liberal side, which is brands like Ben and Jerry's. So Ben and Jerry's more recently has really taken a stance of activism and really making sure that they're all about equality, and that is their brand, and that has always been their brand, but they are really sort of doubling down on it, and it's having an effect on the market when it comes to now other people are talking about their brand because they're excited to talk about how they're taking that activist stance and they want to better support Ben and Jerry's. But you also have the other side that's going to start boycotting it as well. So they drew a line in the sand. They're from Vermont. They're going to be primarily on that side of the coin anyways. So that's their market. And I know obviously they're a national brand, but they're taking a stance, and we'll see how it ends up playing out for them. But I think it's an interesting way to go about your marketing, is sort of, if you really believe what you say, you've got to stand by it. And so it sounds like that's the stance they're taking, and they're going to stand by it, which for a bigger brand, it's definitely a difficult decision to make. But in their case, I think it'll pay off for them.
Yeah, I think so too, because, like you said, this has kind of always been their brand, and that they also aligned, and I'm going to mess this up, so I'm going to need your help here, sportsman. The guy that refused to stand or kneel or something at a football game and then kind of got canceled, Colin something,
Kaepernick.
Okay, see, I was close for a guy who doesn't watch the sports. But he had his own flavor, right? Like they align their brand with the anti-disestablishmentarianism. They align their brand with the hippie kind of thing. And I think that they may lose some people that didn't really care, that were maybe more conservative, who did enjoy the flavors. But also, they're not going to lose some people because they're addicted to sweets. And they might get an influx of people from the other side that are like, man, I hate Trump. I hate this guy. And now they're going double hard to show that they're in alignment. And again, like I say before, and I say all the time, the newest buying power is aligned more with the values that you hold. And if they align with their values, they'll be more loyal to your brand. And that's what this is. They might lose a small subset of market share, but I don't think it's going to take a long time, because the other thing that they have is a very niche product. It's a premium product. It's got flavors that nobody else has. You're not going to be able to go somewhere and get Chunky Monkey or Cherry Garcia. There's going to be these people that are probably going to be like, I hate what they're doing, but I can't not have my sweet. So they're probably not going to lose as much as they think. Yeah. But at the same time, they're reinforcing their brand with what they've always stood for.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how it turns out. Does Ben and Jerry actually still run the company? Or are they just figureheads on the label?
I believe they're still involved. I don't know how much they actually are in for the day-to-day, but from what I understand, they're still involved.
It's probably like Bernie and Phil. Like they just do the commercials and then they're done. You know,
probably similar. Yeah. Yeah. The biggest takeaway that I would like to just tell people that are listening to this is just be mindful of what you say in public and in forums and on social media, because what you say from a personal perspective is going to have some effect on your business. So you just need to be mindful of that, and the decisions you make are also in alignment with your brand, and make sure that that all syncs together, because it's going to have an effect. And just be careful of what you say or do out in the public.
And know your audience and know your brand. Elon Musk has a history of basically saying F you to the world. He literally said it to the head of Disney about ads. Do you remember that? He was on a stage and he's like, you're going to threaten me with money? Yeah. F you. He's like, F you. I'm literally the richest man in the world. F you. And he's like, you're going to take away your ads? I don't care. You can't scare me. You can't intimidate me. You can't bully me. So he's got that brand. So to do something weird like the hand thing with the salute, he definitely has he definitely has a brand that of the I don't give an F kind of situation. But also, you know, he doesn't also have a brand of doing things that are hate focused. So it's easier to believe that it was an accident because it's more in alignment with the brand that you know and trust than it is with any kind of marketing or propaganda that's trying to get you against him. It's just about knowing your audience and knowing your own brand, because sometimes this works. Sometimes this makes sense. If you're trying to attract everybody to go and watch your Fox News channel, then you're not going to be trying at all to appeal to people who watch The Daily Show. And that's okay. And maybe that's the whole point. And that's about really taking a position and sticking out and finding a niche and being comfortable with who you repel and who you attract. Well, I know this is our only political episode, but I think we did a good job not polarizing ourselves and affecting our own brand. We'll see what happens with sales. Tune in next week where we chop up brands, no matter what they are, to see what they're made of.
See you guys.
Brand Chops is brought to you by the fine people at Pivot Creative. Pivot Creative is a full-service branding and marketing agency that partners with businesses to build brands that connect so that every dollar you spend is an investment and not an expense. If you need some branding or marketing guidance, a website, a new brand, or want to learn more about one of the topics we cover on the show, please reach out to us at pivotcreative.com. If you know someone that would benefit from learning more from one of our shows, please share the episode. Visit brand-chops.com. And as always, like and subscribe if you find this content to be helpful. See you next time on Brand Chops, where we chop up brands to see what they're made of.